is going to be the one part of the day where we spend a little bit of time kind of turning the spotlight back on ourselves as Verisk Marketing Solutions. And we're going to talk about the role that we see Verisk playing in the future of consumer insights. And so in just a minute here, I'm going to ask the rest of the team to join me up on stage, and we'll dive deeper into a Q&A session. But I want to set the stage first with some background context before we do that. You can get to the slide. There we go. All right. So if you caught this morning's keynote with Anat, she talked about how she asked ChatGPT, what is the future of customer experience in an AI world? And she got a long list of things back, but the first one on that list was personalization at scale. And you've heard a lot about personalization throughout the day today. It's probably not surprising to any of you. In fact, a recent survey found that 99% of marketers think personalization is going to be important in improving the customer experience. A big part of that and kind of what's driving that is that consumers expect personalization. In fact, when they don't get personalization from brands, they're often irritated or frustrated at the lack of personalization. So hopefully at this point we can kind of stop the debate, or we don't need to argue about whether personalization is coming and whether there's going to be more of this in the future. I think the more interesting question and the more relevant question for us to think about is, how are we all as marketers investing in that future? What are the things we're actually doing now to try to bring us, towards a more personal future? And as we've talked about throughout the day, AI is certainly going to play a role in that. But if you caught the discussion again this morning and some of the discussion throughout the day, you'll remember that AI is only as good as the data that you feed it and that you train it with. And when we're talking about personalization in marketing, the data that matters is data about a person. And so having the right foundational data about a person is really the building block to be able to effectively pull off personalization into the future. If you follow where money in our industry is being spent, you'll see this story kind of playing out. In 2023 alone, there will be over $9.2 billion spent on identity resolution. And so this to me is a clear sign of the importance that enterprises are putting on having the right data about a person in order to effectively enable higher level activities like AI that can actually orchestrate that data and bring to life use cases that involve personalization. And so coming back to Verisk Marketing Solutions, this is really the role that we see ourselves playing, is being the leading provider to you all as marketers of the foundational data that you need in order to enable that more personalized future. We think about three core types of consumer insights. So we talk about who, what, and when. And we think these are kind of the three core components of consumer insights that are going to be important to build that more personal future. We'll break each one of these down briefly here. So when we talk about who, what we're really talking about is identity resolution. And this is the practice of understanding who the person is that you're considering targeting or engaging with as a current customer. This is the practice of being able to link together disparate identity markers about a person. So do you have the right email, phone, address, mobile advertising ID, IP address? And then do you have all of those things linked together around a persistent person ID or a persistent household ID? And this might seem fairly basic, but current state, on average, 30% of a marketer's CRM still is inaccurate with the contact data that people have. And so this is still a challenge. It's increasingly complex in the digital landscape right now, as we've heard about throughout the day with the death of cookies. There are new IDs popping up every day. It's not an easy challenge to solve, but it is the kind of first level problem or foundation that we all have to get right if we're going to be enabling a more personal future. The second type of consumer insight that we work on is what we think about as kind of what are the right attributes or insights about a person. What are the characteristics of a person that matter the most? So do you understand, is someone a homeowner? Do they own a vehicle? What are their demographics? What are the characteristics that allow you to define who your ideal customer is and whether that person is going to be profitable for you in the future. These are also characteristics that can allow you to personalize the type of message you put in front of someone. We heard on, I think it was the prior session that Matt led, and I think it was JJ from Wells Fargo that noted you can be personal without being relevant. And so that's kind of the segue here, I think, into the third category, which is understanding when someone's actually in market. Because if you know who they are, you have all the right contact data about them, you know all these attributes about those people, so you know if they're going to be profitable for you as a customer, and maybe you know what type of product you want to offer them. That doesn't actually mean they want to hear from you and that they're actually interested or on a buying journey to consider the products that you offer. And so this last but certainly not least type of consumer insight that we're focused on is understanding when someone's actually in market and shopping. And with this, when we think about considered purchase journeys, so products like an insurance policy or a mortgage loan to buy a new home, these are long buying journeys where consumers are typically spending months researching, engaging online, looking at different options. And it's critical that you understand when they're actually taking those actions and line up your marketing and outreach to be relevant to them at those inflection points when they're actually thinking about the products that you offer. So to summarize, right, again, we're focused on making investments into these three core categories of consumer insights: who, what, and when. And we think that these are really the three core areas that form that foundational kind of building blocks of the data that you need for a more personal future. At this point, I want to welcome up the rest of the panel here, and we're going to dive deeper into how we're taking these types of insights and packaging them up into products that we can bring to market and drive value to our customers. So join me in welcoming the rest of the crew here to the stage. So we've got Brian Burke, who heads up product management for us, MJ Yafchak, who heads up data strategy, Heather Geffen, who you heard from earlier, who leads our data licensing products, and Kyle Hauber, who leads our first-party enrichment products. I want to start by kind of double-clicking into the products that we're bringing to market, and again, the way we're packaging up this data into those products. So Brian, if I could turn to you first, maybe could you kind of walk everyone through what is our product stack and how do we kind of bring these three products to market?
Sure. You got to switch it.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I think so. Really, when we talk about our product lines, we've got three core product lines that we focus on: first-party enrichment, real-time decisions, and data licensing and syndication. And really what we do with those three product lines is deliver on the value of the who, the what, and the when. And what do we mean when we say who, what, and when? Well, really it's about personalization, or more accurately, relevance. Who that individual is, what in the case of certain core elements that are going to be relevant from an insights perspective, and when. What is their intent? Are they in market? Are they shopping now? And so I wanted to start by diving in just a little bit deeper on real-time decisions and give a couple of examples about real-time decisions. Some of our core customers are in the business of buying leads. They may be receiving consumer information submitted from a web form, and our customers often have to make very quick decisions. It could be an inbound call center. And in many cases, those identities are unknown or only partially known. You only know a sketch about a given consumer when they're filling out a form or when they're calling into your call center. You may not know anything. And so we're enabling our customers to make instant real-time decisions about those consumers. And what would they do with those real-time decisions? One of the things that they would want to know is, does this unknown individual who's reaching out to my organization, do they match my ideal customer profile? If I'm in the process of buying a lead, do I want to buy this lead? Does this consumer own a home? Are they married? Do they have certain types of attributes that would lead to the type of products that I'm trying to sell? And then the other key thing that we enable in real time is, again, I'm going to avoid the word personalization. I'll say relevance. We enable our customers to segment and really optimize the marketing for a given consumer, because it's a very different offer that you may provide to someone that's in their 60s and 70s that might be in the market for a reverse mortgage versus a first-time home buyer. And so by providing that in real time, we enable our customers to make those instant real-time decisions around segmentation and decisioning around buying and purchasing of data.
Thank you, Brian. So I want to go down to you, Kyle, next, and maybe you could walk us through the second product line we offer, which is first-party enrichment.
Yeah. So with first-party enrichment, our objective really is to help marketers who are focused on their existing database of customers and prospects, contrasted with Brian's example of purchasing new leads. And so within the existing database of customers and prospects, we want to help you find what are the key opportunities and how do you engage with them. And so for us, we actually have 3 core products that live within our product line. And we have our identity product, which helps you enhance, obviously, as we've seen with Eli's slides, how you're able to identify who a person is, their phones, their emails, the identifiers, so that when you actually want to engage someone, it's accurate. So a good example of that is if you're trying to market within your existing database of maybe churned customers, inherently you don't have a relationship with them anymore. Your data is stale. So before you're actually going to engage with them, you want to make sure that that's up to date. Furthermore, you can then refine it using our attributes product, where we can append relevant data. So we've been hammering that a lot lately, but the point is we don't want to just append everything. The customer 360 narrative we talked about early. We want to just be appending the things relevant to our use case. So an example being, if I'm trying to market to my existing home insurance policy holders opportunities to bundle auto policies, I probably have a ton of data already about their properties, but I don't really have much about their auto. And so we can append auto data to help highlight who are the ideal consumers within that database so that I can go be smarter about who I'm targeting. And then lastly, what you want to do is really feed that into our Activate product, which is going to help you highlight who's actually shopping, so that, again, we're tailoring it so that we're engaging with them when they're actually looking for our services and being more relevant in our outreach.
That's great. Yeah, I'm thinking back again to JJ's commentary on the prior session around when he was asked why aren't we sending emails to everyone 5 times a week, and I think this is the exact opposite, right? That we're proposing here is that you should be using data to figure out who to reach out to at what time when it's actually relevant, instead of blanket addressing the entire population. I'm going to come to you, Heather, next, and maybe you can walk us through the data licensing product line and what we're up to there.
So with data licensing, unlike the first-party enrichment or real-time decisions, it's less about the fractional identities, and it's more about what are the enhancements or the enrichments we can do to a new prospect or a customer. So what are the plethora of attributes that we can learn about them? It's also about acting as the glue in linkage of different assets or different identities. So what makes it unique is that we are actually delivering on-premise files. And kind of going back to my earlier thing, it's not the CD-ROM. In this case, it is an actual transfer via a secure method. But it means that the actual file itself is on site for the customer to use, and it's kind of at your fingertips. So you can work through it, and you can continue to use it however it might be impactful to you.
That's great. Now, there's obviously, there are a lot of data companies out there. A lot of them, we work with, we partner with. How do you think about kind of the way in which we're differentiated and delivering unique value to customers, maybe beyond just the on-premise capability itself?
Right. So a lot of the work that I do is also about building those foundational assets itself. And the most common question I probably get when I am talking to clients is what makes it unique? And I get it. That's all about you actually trying to make sure that you have an edge or making sure that you can stand out. And what I think is really exciting about the business that we're in, it's kind of, for me, it's like I'm a kid in a candy store being in the data world. that we're now bringing together multiple assets. We're bringing together 30 years of consumer history. We're able to have shopping insights on major life purchases. And then we also have this brand new component of looking at Verisk assets that were previously unused for the purpose of marketing, and they were really focused on underwriting and risk type of use cases. And what that gives us is this new opportunity to look at how we can help, especially in sort of this marketplace that we're talking with insurance and large financial institutions, how we can take some of those attributes that are not only some of the traditional stuff that we might be able to tell you, like your demographics, your lifestyles, your risk behaviors. And I promised you that you would get a slide on a wheel. Here you go. But also some of the new attributes, what we can look at in terms of coming out soon. We actually have, we call it in-market or early shopping intent signals. And what it's going to have is a look at, if you know who your ideal customer profile is, let's say you're 18 to 34, you're a homeowner, and you are also male, and that is who you're always going after. We recognize that works for you, but there's probably a layer or a universe or a filter that we can apply to it that can aggregate and look at what are those signals of intent so that you can slim down your universe, so that you can say, I know what works for me, but I also want to take it down one level and focus on only the ones that are going to be more likely to be in market. And I think there's a lot of other paths that we're going to be able to take. There's some really interesting assets at Verisk. One that was presented to me recently was this idea that we have data related to fire lines and ways that we can actually predict people's risk of being in an area where there's hail, which kind of sounds crazy, but these were assets that were previously unused for marketing purposes. We probably can, again, help you figure out which of your leads are most relevant if they're coming in by looking at the areas that are most going to be profitable for you and not focusing on the ones that are not profitable.
I think that's a super interesting one right now, right? Given the current kind of profitability challenges in insurance, a lot of focus is going towards how do we make sure that the people we're trying to target or the leads that we have coming in fit the right risk profile, because that's ultimately going to drive whether those are profitable customers once they're acquired. So very excited about some of the attributes that we have coming to market there. I know we're also doing a lot of innovation around the identity side of our data assets. I think this could be an interesting one for you, MJ, to maybe provide some more context for everyone on how we actually go about the process of building our data. You and your team are responsible for bringing in all of the data from our various sources on the front end and then actually pulling that together and building the assets and the graph that powers all of our products. So do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the complexity of identity and how we're actually doing what we're doing?
So my team actually builds our identity graph. And as you build that identity graph, the most important thing is to start with identity. And so really you have to think about what is an identity. An identity is those unique set of characteristics that allow us to be able to recognize you. And so traditionally those things have been, if we go back in time, it's your name and address. And then we began to add phone number information to it. And then we added email addresses. And now we're moving into the digital realm. And we call those characteristics identity markers. And so within our graph, we link those identity markers to a persistent ID. So as we get multiple authoritative feeds of data that we can depend on, we deterministically match those to bring those identity markers together to assign a persistent ID to an individual. And then as we build those persistent IDs, as we get more data in, we can expand those identity markers to such things, say, as an IP address. So as we get those multiple feeds of authoritative data, we can expand those identity markers. And that's actually one of the goals that my team has, is to be able to collect and recognize and link all of those identity markers to a persistent ID or an individual, and then add all of that attribute information to that record.
Excellent. So I've got one more for you, MJ. Right. So you've talked about how we build our asset and kind of the focus on identity. Critical underpinning to all of this is the focus on privacy, and then right in hand with privacy is data security. So making sure that when we're handling sensitive consumer data, we're putting the highest levels of security possible on that and avoiding kind of any potential for risk there. Can you talk a little bit about the ways in which we're going about data security in your world? Your teams, again, have been responsible for a lot of the heavy lifting work on ensuring our assets are secured.
So over the past couple of years, we've had a huge focus on making sure our data is safe and secure and taking measures to be able to do that. So we've fortified the way we build our data. We build our data now in a secure cloud environment. We use Artie's platform. We use the AWS platform as well as Snowflake. All of the data that is in our platforms as well is dynamically masked, meaning that even the individuals who build the data or who work with it on a regular basis don't have access to the PII that's in that data. As well, even though that data is in those secure platforms, that masking of that data so that the PII is not able to be accessed prevents data leakage should somebody be able to get past a firewall or any of the safety and security standard or rules that we have set up in those platforms. So, and even in the way that we deliver our data is delivered in a secure way. It's delivered such that it's encrypted. Our customers have encryption keys that are unique to them for the data that's delivered to them. So we take multiple steps along the way to ensure that our data is secure and that our clients can depend on that.